Hey, there you are. Thanks for stopping back in. Episode 6. Today I speak with Nick Beier of San Diego. Nick responded to an inquiry that I put on a Martin guitar subreddit looking for anyone with pre-war Martins. I thought it would be cool to talk to some people who own those and check those guitars out. Still do. If you know anybody, want to check more out. Today we looked at Nick's 1931 Single 017, all mahogany. Beautiful little 12 fret slotted slotted headstock. Really cool little guitar. Has these funky frets on it. Not sure I'd like those, but really cool guitar anyway. And also a beautiful 1934 triple 018. I own a 2011 triple 018, so it was cool to see one that was so much older. Really enjoyed my talk with Nick. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, Nick, thanks for joining me here on the Secret Guitar Club. I appreciate you stopping in. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from, and how'd you get into guitars and vintage guitars?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Brian. Nice to meet you. Nice to be on your show. Uh, yeah, I guess it turns out that I'm just a guitar nerd. You figure things out about yourself over the years, and that's just how it looks. So, yeah, I think the last 7 or 8 years has just been like going down the rabbit hole of acoustic guitars, and you kind of get drawn in the direction of Martin guitars if you spend
Yeah,
time in that world, or if you're kind of interested in like old American like folk music, you get drawn down the Martin rabbit hole. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
They're
where
a
I've been for.
historical American company.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you play guitar as a kid, or was it just 8 years ago that you got into it?
yeah. I played guitar as a kid, just in middle school, bought like a cheap electric guitar and just jamming with friends and playing power chords and learning like Green Day songs and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
cool.
but yeah, once you play electric guitar, you can move into any other form of it as well, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So this hat, you got interested in acoustics before the pandemic, or was it a bit of a pandemic delve?
yeah, it was right before, but then
Yeah,
you're right that the pandemic was a real a real good opportunity to dive even
yeah.
deeper, right? So
The guitar market went a little crazy there, like everything else. So tell me, you've got quite a collection of guitars, a couple of pre-war Martins, which are amazing. Can't wait to see those. How
yeah.
did you get into collecting sort of those vintage guitars?
Yeah, it's funny, I think it was in 2017, it's like a few years before the pandemic. And I had this guitar. I was a one guitar guy like for my whole life. This is called a Sigma Martin
Yeah.
DM18. So
Hmm.
it's like a guitar from the 80s that Martin licensed their name to Sigma Martin to basically produce a D18, but it was
Yeah.
built overseas and it's built with like slightly cheaper materials.
Hmm.
So I was playing this for years, and at one point I figured, why don't I try to find a real D18, like a real Martin D18, which is like solid, solid back and sides, like different materials slightly.
Yeah.
And I had just sold a car of mine, so I had 3 grand in cash sitting in an envelope, which is dangerous, you know. Um,
Especially when you're thinking about some old Martins.
I know. Well, the funny thing is, I wasn't thinking about I was just trying to find a D18, any D18.
Hmm.
And if you look at the specs, the ones that are built before 2012 have a narrow nut width. So I was trying to find that,
Hmm.
right? And I was searching Craigslist for any D18 before 2012, and they're all around 1,800 bucks or maybe 2 grand or something in that price range. And there was one that popped up that was 1960, 60,
Hmm.
for the same price range. It was like 2,100 bucks or something like that on Craigslist. And I said, why not just check? I mean, it's an old beat up guitar, but it's an old D18, so why not look at it? So I drove to this guy's house, and it's been through a lot. It's been through a lot of repairs. It had like mold growing on the inside. The case smelled funny. Um, yeah, but I ended up talking to the guy and getting it down a few hundred bucks, and I paid him for it, and I picked up that old guitar.
Nice.
And yeah, that started the obsession with the old. The old ones are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how did you get that mold out?
Dude, it's I tried everything. It's kind of ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
you got to dry it out. You can't put it in the sun for too long because it could damage the guitar.
Yeah.
I tried putting baking soda in there and like rubbing the baking, and then you don't want to put too much baking soda in a guitar either. But I ended up getting this UV light that's battery
Okay.
powered, and you
Yep.
shove it inside the sound hole, you close it up, and you let it run for 30 minutes, and it's like kind of sterilizes and kills everything.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's all fascinating. Did you need to do any more work to it? Did you have to have a neck reset or anything to it?
Yeah, I'll show you. It's this one. Um,
Yeah.
so this is the D18 from 1960, right? It almost
Okay.
looks just like the DM18,
Yeah.
but it's actually built in Pennsylvania. It's made of hot hide glue. It's like built in the old factory,
Yeah.
so it's got all
Yeah.
that history to it. And yeah, this guitar's got layers of finish. Like there's like this finish. You probably can't see it in the
Oh
camera, but there's
yeah.
this reptile skin like finish checking, but then
Yeah.
there's another layer of finish on top of it. So it's just been through years and years of repairs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
restorations, but it's hanging
So
in there. The bridge is a little bit low, so the bridge has been shaved, um, but it plays good. So it's yeah,
the 50s. That's from the 50s or 60s, you said?
60, so 60. Yeah,
60s or 60. Guitars were going crazy then.
yeah,
Does that have what kind of bracing does that have? What were they doing for bracing during that time? Do you know? 'Cause I know
yeah.
the
This is
older ones are scallop bracing, right? The pre-war
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So in the 30s, in the golden era, as they call it, they
Hmm.
had forward shifted scalloped bracing, which
Hmm.
people refer to as like pre-war bracing or golden era style. And then a few years later, they realized that that resulted in too many warranty claims
Hmm.
because the tops were a little bit thinner, and that the position of the bracing lets it move more and lets it warp more over time. And so Martin went to thicker, non-scalloped bracing, and they shifted the bracing rear. It's called rear shifted. So
Yeah.
that's what this is. They kept with that for many, many decades.
Okay.
Um,
They started that when in the late 40s then, like early 50s probably, I guess.
I think it was like 38 or
Oh,
39. They
oh,
changed.
that they changed it. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
cool. Cool, cool. So that's your 60 D18.
yeah, yeah. That was my first love of vintage Martins, and then you just go, then you get addicted, and then you just go from there. So
Now, do you feel like it's a little bit of an investment, right? Having a few of those.
yeah,
What's your methodology on that? Is it kind of like just only going to increase, which I think they will? Kind of like a little bit of an investment. Only if you want to sell them, I suppose. But
yeah. They might go up in value. A lot of people bank on that. You know, people joke about the guitar 401k that like your whole life savings is just guitars, which is a little bit dangerous, probably.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I I think even if they don't go up, they'll roughly keep value. Like there'll be fluctuations, but if you buy a vintage Martin for 2 or 3 grand today, you can probably sell it in a few years for
yeah,
2 or 3 grand. So you're
yeah.
hopefully not out too much cash. That's the
I,
justification, right?
I can't imagine any of them going down in the future. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Before we take a look at your next guitar, I know I just saw a bunch of cases behind you. It sounds like you have a lot of guitars. Um, you're in San Diego. Did you mention that? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
I'm in Maine, where we have dramatic humidity differences here between winter and summer. Winter is super dry. Summer can get pretty humid, so we're always kind of managing humidity with our guitars here.
Yeah.
San Diego is pretty stable. Do you do any humidification control, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, it's better than the rest of the country, but it still fluctuates. I mean, I'm pretty close to the ocean, so you get a lot of moisture coming in.
Yeah,
So typically here it's too humid most of the time.
really? Okay.
Um, some days it'll dry out, but most 9 out of 10 days it's too. And so yeah, I keep a real close tab on it. I mean, I got this little hygrometer
Yeah.
in my guitar room. It says 59% right now, so that's a little on the high side, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
way I handle it is I cram all the guitars in one room, close the
Hmm.
door, close the windows, and I run a dehumidifier or a humidifier just constantly to just keep the
Perfect.
room the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to keep pretty close tabs on that when you have a collection like yours.
Yeah, it's it's funny because a lot of folks try to address the humidity in the case. They'll put humidifiers in the case or try to dehumidify the case, but it's really hard to get that to work. It's so much better if you can just dedicate like a walk-in closet or a small room. Then you're golden because you can control the air in the room, and then you're
Yeah.
good. But
Yeah.
not everyone can do that. I get it. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I put a little humidifier in the case here in the winter,
Yeah.
But it might be too much humidity. You know, I do keep a hygrometer in there as well, and it probably is a little too high. So it's a tough thing to manage.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your next guitar? What do you got next?
Well, gosh, there's so many. Do you want to jump to the best one of the bunch? Or-
I want to see your top three
oh boy.
after that D18, or maybe top two. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Let's start with your oldest one.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so this one is so if you get into old
I love it.
Martins, you hear the term golden era a lot, right? That's kind of like those 5 or 6 years in the 30s where they just nailed it. Like they had the
Yeah,
bracing right, they had the design, the like the wizards in the shop like knew what they were doing. People say the best acoustic guitars in the world in this style were built in those few years in the Martin factory. So if
yeah,
you're an old Martin collector, you're trying to get into this, you'd love to pick up a golden era,
hmm
right? And so this is a 017 single 017.
yep.
It's a 12 fret. It's all mahogany, and it is from 1931. So it is from that golden era.
Sweet.
It's a
Looks like
lower end model, so it's a little cheaper. So it's easier to find these for less cash.
it's in great shape.
Yeah, it is in good shape. It's got a bunch of scuffs and dings, but that's what you want, right? You want
Hmm
you want some mojo on it. Yeah, it's cool. The guitars that Martin made before 1934 had bar frets. Do you know about those, Brian?
No, I don't think so.
So it's maybe you can see it on the camera, but
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not
yeah,
rounded over.
the fret is just a giant hunk of steel that's just sunk
Yeah,
into the fretboard, right? Instead of a
makes
T
sense.
fret that has a tang and a mushroom top.
Yeah,
Right? So
yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love those slotted headstocks. Do you do you have are any of them everyday players for you, or are they just
oh
collections?
yeah, I mean I keep them all out. They're all just
Yeah,
I pick on them and mess around with them all the time. Yeah, and
yeah. Do you play that one a lot? I imagine I would pick that one up a lot. That's a
yeah,
great size. I love that sort of style too.
yeah. This one's a lot of fun. I think any old guitar with bar frets, it's the setup always gets a little bit wonky. So
Yeah,
this one is not as easy to play as some of the other ones.
yeah,
Uh, but it does sound great. So it is still a lot
yeah.
of fun. I mean,
You play a little something on it really quick.
yeah.
Could I hear like a G chord or something?
Oh yeah, of course. Here, you can go finger style. Or you can play.
Do you
Yeah,
mostly play fingerstyle on those old Martins?
yeah. You can go either way. I think these will go either way. Finger style is great because it's
Yeah,
sensitive and loud enough that you can get the volume with the fingertips, but it'll also hang with the flat pick or the flat pick.
yeah,
If you go
yeah.
for it. So.
Cool. Very cool. It's beautiful. Have you had any work done on that one, or do you know much about its history?
This one, it has been in the hands of Brian Kimsey, who's like one of the well-known guys in the old Martin guitar world. He does a lot of restoration and repair work. The
Cool.
bridge, I think, split forward at one point, so we had
hmm
to, or this is before I owned it, but he had to glue the bridge back together. Um, a lot of setup work.
Sorry about that. My dog.
Hopefully your guitars are all right over
Oh
there.
yeah, no guitars in here.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
but yeah, just setup work on the bar frets and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
What's that for tuners up there? Is it the original tuners?
I think so. Yeah, it's hard to keep tabs on everything on the older guitar. I think these are the original tuners, but someone else would
Yeah.
be more qualified to
Yeah.
say. But
Is there a name on those? Were they? I wonder if there was like Grover back then, or what they were using. Maybe original Martins, I guess.
yeah, good point. I mean, on some of the other golden era, they got tuners that are more identifiable that I've been doing research on, but these don't have a name on them at all,
Yeah.
actually. So,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have do you get your guitars appraised, or do you just keep them in the room there?
I haven't gotten them appraised ever. I think if you keep up with the on the forums and on the marketplace, you kind of get a sense of what the value is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any appraiser in San Diego is just going to do that same thing. So it's,
Yeah.
we can kind of
Yeah, right. I guess there's a lot of information. I find, when I'm looking online at different forums, there's so much knowledge out there with Martin history, and there's like just plenty of groups to be part of to read about it. It's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, it's a
Um,
lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah. What's your next guitar, Nick?
All right. I'll show you. I'll show you the big Kahuna. I'll show you
Okay.
the fanciest one.
Is it also your favorite or just the fanciest?
It's probably the favorite for now. The favorite always rotates, as you play them and
Yeah.
as you sell them or pick up another one. But
Yeah.
this guy, this is really cool. So it's a triple O 18 from 1934.
Wow.
So that's, it's actually in 1934, Martin changed their design in the middle of the year. They went from a short scale length, which is typical of triple O 18s, to a longer scale length, which is typically called the OM 18. This is funny. So it's called the triple O 18, but it's before the design change, so it's a longer scale length.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
So it's basically an OM. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Can I lift it up? Maybe see the. Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, see the back. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Your guitars are in great shape.
Yeah, they are. They're hanging together. I mean, they all have serious issues. I mean, like even this guitar, if you look really closely at it and you shine a UV light on the top and you inspect the finish, you can pretty much tell that the top was sanded years ago. So somebody removed the original finish from the top, and for whatever reason, maybe for some repair work. So that's a big ding, in terms of collectors and like value. That'll knock it down like a few grand, right? That's a huge, huge ding in terms of value.
Yeah, and you'll see people say like, "Well, why did they do that?" But 75 years ago, it was just a guitar. Even 50 years ago, it was just a guitar. Nobody really had the sense of it being what it is. Of course, now in 2025, it's funny.
Yeah, exactly. You can look at the old repairs and you can be critical, or you can kind of have compassion for the
Yeah.
the luthiers back in the day who were just doing their best to keep the thing going, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
It's interesting. It's funny that, well, it's not funny. It's just really cool that there's such pieces of history. Coming up on 100 years here pretty soon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
tell me more about this one. Do you play this one a lot? What kind of do you string them up? Do you put new strings on them? And if so, what do you use?
Yeah, the string. It's always fun to mess with strings. If you're getting into that whole world, there's so many different brands you can try. My favorite is this guy. They're called Darko. Is the brand.
Yep. Made by Martin.
Yeah, like Martin strings were Darko strings. I think a couple of years ago they shifted and now they're something else. But this is what Martin strings were for a few decades. And these are 12s, 12 to 54 phosphor bronze. And yeah, strings are a funny thing. Different people have different preferences. New strings sound really zingy and really shiny and sound new. I actually like the old strings. So
Especially on those old guitars, you kind of want them to sound like
yeah,
they're just dirty.
exactly. Yeah, I get the sense that back in the 30s, people weren't buying new strings every week, right?
No.
Yeah.
They would, and instead of changing it, they would take them off and boil them and put them back on.
Yeah.
Get all that grime off it.
Yeah, that works, man. I've done it before. It works. Yeah,
I've never done that, but yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, but a set of bass strings are like 25 or $30 sometimes, so you can save some money if you just boil them and put them back
Yeah,
on.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Does that have? Did you ever have like a fret redo on that, or neck reset, or do you know anything about this one?
Yeah, this one I just picked it up maybe
nice.
a month ago, so it's a month.
Cool.
So, yeah, thankfully I haven't done any work. I did get one thing done where this is common on old guitars, where the bridge over the years the bridge will start to lift up, and along the back edge you'll see a little bit of a gap opening.
Yeah.
Right. And so if it's bad enough, what you have to do is pull the whole bridge off, clean the glue, and it's called reset the bridge, like re-glue it with. You'd use hot hide glue if you have it on the old guitars. So this might have needed that, but if it's minor enough, if the separation is just a little bit, you can actually cram some hot hide glue into the cracks and clamp it down and let it cure, so it'll last a few more years. So that's what I got done on this guy. So now it's in
Cool.
good shape again. But
You must have. I know there's probably a ton of shops there in San Diego, but do you have like a go-to guy that you work with?
there's a few guys around here, and they're really great. Um, Sometimes the wait list is too long, and sometimes the prices are pretty high. So I've actually made friends with a luthier in Tennessee,
Oh, cool.
Nathan Wright. He's a great guy. And for the big stuff that I needed done, I'll actually ship the guitar to Tennessee, have him do the work, and ship it
There
back.
you go. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, it's
Very cool.
honestly with the old Martins that are really, really special, you can't bring it to like just anyone. You got to be sure that the guy knows what he's doing. He's got the right tools. He's got the right mindset. So it's really a small group of people actually that you trust for that.
Gotcha.
A big
Gotcha.
one.
That's awesome. And let's see. Did I get my allotment? Is that your two favorites? Do you have anything else around you can show me?
I think those are the good. I can talk all day about the rest. I've got old Gibsons and old Washburns and other guitars too. But we'll just be talking forever.
Yeah, no, for
So,
sure. One last question for you. Well, you just said that you got that guitar a month ago.
yeah.
You kind of always on the lookout. You're looking on. Where are you looking? How are you finding these?
Oh yeah, yeah. I should probably calm down. I should probably just chill out on looking for guitars. It's funny. Anytime you pick one up, you got to sell one or two, and if you get
Well,
out of balance, it's
I think the right number to own is n plus one,
okay.
where n equals the number that you currently have.
Yeah, yeah. I got like three or four up for sale right now. So as soon as one of them gets sold, then there's an opening, and then I can go find find another pretty much. So
No, that's probably smart. It can get a little out of control.
yeah, yeah. It's
So,
honestly it's a little silly, but I was saving up for a house for a few years in San Diego to try to buy a home, and the prices are so freaking high that a few years ago I was like, let's just not buy a house anytime soon.
yeah.
So I kind of have my home down payment is like in the guitar stash. And then when the time comes, I'll just liquidate a bunch of guitars and I'll hopefully get that down payment back if I need it, right? So
Well, like we were saying, I think it's probably a pretty stable market. I don't think any of those are going to go down in value anytime soon.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, no, very cool. Well, great chatting with you today, Nick. You've got a beautiful collection. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
that's
Beier.
awesome. Appreciate it.
Right on. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the chat. I hope to I'll keep an eye on your channel and look for some more old Martins on there. Right. So
I'll do what I can. And like, if you have anybody I should be talking to, please let me know.
yeah, I'll send them your way. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. Take care.
Okay. See ya.